What are we doing? Slowly destroying our health and well-being in the name of beauty? Makeup has been around for centuries, but has makeup always been toxic? Today we're exploring toxic beauty, the history of makeup, the toxic ingredients in makeup, and finally, what we can do to reduce our exposure to toxic cosmetics. It all started in ancient Egypt when the Egyptians wanted to appeal more to the gods. Now, wearing makeup was a way to signal wealth and power by extension. They would wear things like eyeliner made from coal, macula light for eyeshadow, and blushes and powders to give them more of a pleasing look. Now, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, as well as in some Jewish scriptures, makeup was seen actually as a way of detracting from godliness, and in Roman times, makeup was seen as shameless, something you didn't want to wear. In the Western world, makeup was both villainized and celebrated. In the Renaissance period, many women decided to wear makeup as a way to enhance their natural beauty. However, in the mid-19th century, many women decided not to wear makeup or not to appear to wear makeup, as this was seen as gauche, tacky, something less desirable to wear. However, in the 1920s, that's when women really decided to start wearing makeup, and it was visible. Many of the women in the 1920s decided they wanted to go out with the bold red lip, the bold eye makeup. It was supposed to be visible and seen. Now, many women see makeup as a way of life, something that we must put on to appear to other individuals. Through the history of makeup, we've seen toxic ingredients used. Today, we're seeing makeup that has lead, phthalate, mercury, as well as formaldehyde in it, which can't be good for consumers. In fact, these chemicals in this makeup have been linked to things like cancer, neurological issues, as well as reproductive issues, which I find interesting because many women have determined that their reproductive issues is due to birth control, when in fact it might be due to multiple factors such as the use of makeup. And you might be surprised where we're finding all these toxic ingredients, everything from your toothpaste to shaving cream, nail polishes, perfume, particularly perfume, and your makeup products are found within cosmetics. So these can lead to issues like skin sensitivity, respiratory issues, carcinogenic effects such as cancer, metabolism issues, which could explain some of the issues with obesity in our country as well as in the Western world, as well as damage to development of a newborn fetus. There can be pregnancy issues, cognition issues, irritability, tremors even. You could have changes in vision or hearing loss, memory issues, and a whole lot of other issues, which I'll put on the screen right here. And here's how it works. You absorb these chemicals through your skin. When you put the makeup on your skin, that's when you're starting to absorb them. It can also be things like skin-to-skin contact. So if you're touching your toddler or your baby, they may be absorbing some of the materials left on your skin. It can be through things like your vanity and maybe smearing a little bit of the makeup off your vanity. Once you absorb these chemicals into your skin, they then go on to be introduced into your bloodstream, which can't be good for you. And if you haven't seen my video on microplastics and how bad they are for not only our environment, for our health as well, you might be interested to learn that phthalates are a key component in the consumer products that we use for cosmetics. The main phthalates in cosmetics and personal care products are dibutyl phthalate in nail polish, diethyl phthalate in perfumes and lotions, and dimethyl phthalate in hairspray. Often their presence isn't noted on the label, so this can be a problem for consumers trying to find better alternatives in their makeup products. But here's what we do know. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as saying this is going to cause cancer, this is going to cause reproductive issues. Now, many of the studies that we're seeing have been done with animal studies, so they're not exactly the most accurate in terms of what humans could experience. That means we don't know how it's going to be absorbed through our skin and then through our bloodstream. And because animal models are not human models, we can't really tell if these products are going to be very dangerous. Until we do studies on humans, which would be unethical, we really can't determine how this makeup is affecting us. We also need to remember that low-level exposure can add up over time, which could be a problem. Did you know that 12% of children use makeup daily?
This is shocking to me. It can be found in everything from face paints to roll-on glitter to lip gloss and nail polish. And the effects could be devastating for children because there are things like lead, asbestos, toxic chemicals, PFAS, otherwise known as forever chemicals. They can cause things like cancer, neurodevelopmental harm, as well as irreversible health effects for the kiddo. It turns out that you could be affected by makeup even if you're not using any yourself. For instance, as I said, even the shaving creams have been found to have some chemicals in them that we don't necessarily want to put onto our skin. There are also environmental concerns with this makeup that we're using. So sometimes it can get into our water supply, and that's really just when it comes from runoff from the environment. So when you take a shower, that goes into our wastewater, and that wastewater can then contaminate our regular drinking water if not disposed of properly. There are also issues with throwing cosmetics away. Let's say you have some rancid makeup or some makeup that just expired and you want to get rid of it, so you throw it away. Why is this bad? Because it can leak into the soil, which is not only an environmental concern, but it could then get into our water supply as well as soil. And there are medical concerns, not just for children, but also for us as adults. It turns out that the World Health Organization says that 30% of cancer diagnoses could be prevented through proper prevention, like staying away from oncogenic agents, such as some of the heavy metals found in makeup. And this is interesting because there has been a huge influx in the amount of cancer diagnoses in the Western world. And what's particularly concerning is the mortality related to these cancer diagnoses. Countries with higher levels of development actually have 2 to 3 times the cancer incidence that other less developed countries have. There are issues with early puberty as well as fertility issues, and there's tumors. It's another day and another problem. We're going to talk about regulation in the makeup industry. So there needs to be more awareness around safety data, not just safety data, but also just data in general about cosmetics. So there are a couple things that I want to highlight here. One, and it hasn't been until 1939 that there was any regulation put in the cosmetics until recently. Cosmetics are not required to report any of the trade secrets in their perfume. So many cosmetics have perfume added to them. Mascara, for instance, it really bothers my eyes. And that's one of the reasons is it has perfume in it. But here's the thing, the ingredients on the label for makeup and cosmetics are usually listed, but underneath it'll say something like perfume, and they are not required by law to show you any of the ingredients on that list. So we really need to advocate for makeup packaging to have all the ingredients listed out. I understand that it's a trade secret, but really, how are we supposed to know what's in our makeup unless we have some information about it? The second thing we're going to talk about is how makeup companies are required to do their own safety data and analysis. Now, why is this a problem? Because companies don't necessarily want what's best for the consumer, they want what's best for them. So even if you have a product that is safe according to the cosmetic company, that doesn't mean it's actually safe. As it stands right now, the FDA does not approve makeup or cosmetic ingredients unless they have color additives in them. Then the FDA is allowed to regulate those. Interestingly enough, some states have started to combat this makeup and cosmetic problem on their own. So one of the areas that does this is Washington, and they are trying to make sure that makeup ingredients are not toxic to the individual. So anything that's been proven to be toxic to an individual is not allowed to go in makeup. This ban goes into effect in January 2025. Another key player is a bill that Biden introduced in 2022. Up to this point, from 1939 to 2022, we did not see any regulation by the FDA, and there have been no bills introduced to regulate what's in the cosmetic industry. This is a huge problem, and thanks to this bill, we'll actually have more transparency in what chemicals are being used in our makeup products, and they'll be regulated more heavily by the FDA. The third thing that I want to highlight is that there are some makeup products that use things like pure, natural, organic in their marketing, and this doesn't actually mean that they're pure, natural, or organic. There are no legal certifications that determine whether or not something is pure, natural, organic. So we need to be mindful of this because those products aren't necessarily better. So as we've discussed, you can avoid certain chemicals, which I'll list on the screen right here, and you want to make sure that those chemicals are not in your makeup products. So you can look at the back of the packaging and see which ingredients are in there. You can also try to limit the amount of makeup products that you're using day to day. So I'm not going to stop wearing makeup, but I'm going to try to limit the amount of stuff that I'm putting on my face, and I'm going to be very mindful of the ingredients. Basically, some of the studies that we've been looking at today that I've highlighted in this video, some of them suggest that there's really no harm in some of the chemicals that you're using, and only in large doses are they harmful. However, with an abundance of caution, I would recommend that you try to stray away from using some of the ingredients that are known to be toxic to humans, because just because they're in small doses doesn't necessarily mean that that doesn't add up over time. And I know we're all struggling to find time during our day, but you could make your own products, right? Like making soap, making sugar scrubs. Those might be beneficial to you if you're really concerned about what you're putting on your body. For me, I struggle a lot with finding products that are not going to make me break out because I just have such sensitive skin. So avoid using perfumes, avoid the chemicals, avoid using many products, and just try in general to be more of a conscious consumer. So I've linked all the articles below, and hopefully you can go through, read, and make your own decisions on whether or not you should continue using your makeup products. And if you made it to this far in the video, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe, because it helps with the algorithm, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thanks.